Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is the Bodega Cat Book Club Spiritual Edition. And today we're continuing our reading of Thiaoouba Prophecy, The Golden Planet by Michel Desmarquet. The subtitle is called A True Report by the author who was physically abducted to another planet. So this book was inspired by an interview that I did with a gentleman called Samuel Chung. He was apparently very instrumental in getting this book translated and published in Chinese. And according to him, this book is very popular in China, which I find very interesting. So I'll leave a link in the description box below. You can check that out. And while you're there, you could check out our other podcast as well. I put out podcasts. I try to do it regularly, but you know, whoever the universe wants me to interview, and I have it on my website, so you could check that out as well. And I find that interviews people are very interesting to learn about what they do, why they do it, their life journey, and things like that. So, anyways, you could check that out on our website, and I'll leave a link of the website in the description box below as well. And while you're at our website, you could check out our newsletters. We have a monthly newsletter that we put out for free, so please sign up for that and follow us with new things coming out, new events, new book clubs, books to read, things like that. So you're more than welcome to come join us. And if you're interested in reading, we have other book clubs as well. So on Wednesdays, we have the health book clubs where we read health related books. And then Thursdays, we have the financial book club where we read anything related to finance. And if you have any book recommendations you want us to read, I'll put a link in the description box below, and it could be anything. It could be health related, it could be financial related, finance related, spiritually related. Uh, just leave your recommendation, and we would love to read it. We will consider it. We'll read it at our discretion. And we love old books. Books that have been around for a while, because I think this is just my opinion. Um, Books that have been around for a while have a lot of wisdom and a lot of knowledge, timeless knowledge, knowledge that are wisdom that transcends all, modern thinking or the latest fad or whatever it was, right? Anyways, that's just my take on it. And if you find us, another thing is we put all our books that we have read on YouTube, past and present, and also all our podcasts on YouTube. So check out our YouTube channel and please do subscribe and whatever they call it. I don't know what they call it. Click on the notification bell, whatever you do. Anyways, you could do that. And then if you find this helpful, uh, you can support and you wish to support us, you can buy me a coffee and or check out our merch as well. I appreciate that very, very much. And if you are local in the Los Angeles area, or if you're visiting in the LA area, you could come visit us in person in our healing center. We use technologies based on Nikola Tesla's scalar wave research for holistic healing for both animals, cats and dogs, as well as humans. So check us out. We have all the information on our website, as well as our other services. And leave us a comment. Tell us what you think of the book, uh, any suggestions, things like that. We'd love to hear from you. All right, so this book, today's reading is going to be chapter 13. And the book itself doesn't have the chapter numbers. I put the chapter numbers in myself. But this particular chapter is called Coming Back Home. And we are nearing the end of this book, and we will be starting a new book soon. So follow us subscribe to our newsletter and our YouTube channel to find out what the next book is. All right, so let's do it. Okay, coming back home. The sheets of galvanized iron on the roof creak under the burning rays of the sun, and even on the veranda, the heat is almost unbearable. I watch the delightful play of light and shadow in the garden and hear the song of the birds as they chase each other across a pale blue sky. And I am sad. I have just put the final full stop at the end of the 12th chapter of this book I was asked to write. The task was not always easy. Often details would escape me, and I would spend hours trying to recall certain things which Tao had said, and particular things she wanted me to write. Then, at the moment when I was totally exasperated, it would all come back to me, every detail, as if a voice was dictating the words over my shoulder, and I would write so much I would develop cramps in my hand. For periods of about 3 hours, sometimes more, sometimes less, images would crowd into my head. While writing the book with words jostling each other in my mind, I often wished I had known shorthand. And now again, the strange sensation is back. Are you there, Tao? I would ask, never receiving a reply. Is it one of you, Tao, Biastra, Latoli, Lationusi? I beg you to give me a sign, a sound. Please respond. You called me? I had spoken aloud, and my wife had come running. She stood in front of me, watching me closely. No, you're doing this periodically, aren't you? Talking to yourself. I will be glad when this book is finished and you come back to Earth. Literally. She left. Poor Lena. She certainly has not had an easy time of it these past months. How must it have been for her? She got up one morning to find me stretched out on the sofa, deathly pale, having difficulty breathing, and desperately wanting to sleep. I asked her if she had found my note. Yes, she said, but where did you get to? I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but I was picked up by extraterrestrials and taken to their planet. I will tell you everything, but for now, please just let me sleep for as long as possible. I'll go to bed now. I stretched out here so as not to wake you. Your tiredness is not, I suppose, due to some other reason. Her tone was bittersweet, and I could sense her concern. However, she let me sleep, and it was a good 36 hours before I opened my eyes. I woke to find Lena bending over me with the anxious air of a nurse watching someone gravely ill. How are you? She asked. I very nearly called the doctor. I haven't known you to sleep for so long without once stirring, and yet you were dreaming and calling out in your sleep. Who is the Arki or Aki you mentioned? And Tao, are you going to tell me? I smiled at her and kissed her. I'm going to tell you everything. It occurred to me then that thousands of husbands and wives must say that very same sentence, having no intention whatsoever of explaining, quote, everything. I wished I'd said something a little less vulgar and common. Yes, I'm listening. Good, and you must listen carefully, for what I have to say is serious, very serious. But I don't want to tell the same stories twice. Call our son in so I can tell you both. 3 hours later, I had largely finished my account of the extraordinary adventure I had. Lena, who is the least credulous member of the family when it comes to such matters, had detected by certain expressions and certain intonations in my voice that something really serious had happened to me. When one lives 27 years with a person, some things cannot be misunderstood. I was besieged with questions, especially from my son, for he has always believed in the existence of other planets inhabited by intelligent beings. Do you have proof? Asked Lena. Excuse me. I was reminded of Tao's words. They seek proof, Michel, and always more proof. I was a little disappointed the question came from my own wife. No, none. But when you read the book that I must write, you will know that I tell the truth. You won't have to believe, you will know. Can you imagine me telling my friends? My husband has just come back from the planet Thiaoouba. I asked you to speak of the matter to no one, since my orders were not to speak, but first to write. I felt it was better that way in any case because words can be lost in the breeze, whereas when what is written remains. The months and the days and months passed by, and now the book is finished. All that remains to be done is to publish it. On this subject, Tao had assured me that there would be a few problems. There was in response to a question I had asked in the spacecraft on our return to Earth. The spacecraft. How many things that word brings to mind. That last evening on the beach, Tao had pointed out the minuscule star that is the sun that now made me perspire. I had then taken the flying platform. We had then taken the flying platform and headed for the space base, quickly and without a word being spoken. A spaceship prepared for immediate departure awaited us. During our brief journey to the base, I had observed in the darkness that the auras of my companions were not shining as brightly as usual. The colors were more subdued and stayed closer to their bodies. This surprised me, but I said nothing. When we boarded the spacecraft, I assumed we were going on a trip, perhaps with a specific mission to a nearby planet. Tao had told me nothing. Our takeoff went according to normal procedures and was uneventful. I watched as the golden planet became rapidly smaller, presuming that I'd be returning in a few hours' time, or perhaps the next day. Several hours had lapsed before Tao finally addressed me again. Michelle, I know you have noticed our sadness. It is very real, for there are certain partings that are sadder than others. My companions and I have become very attached to you. And if we are sad, it is because at the end of this journey we must part. We are taking you back to your planet. Again, I felt a twinge in the side of my stomach. I hope you won't hold it against us that we left so quickly. We did so to spare you the regrets one always has when one leaves a place one is fond of. And I know you are enormously fond of our planet and our company. It's not hard to think this is my last night, or this is the last time I will see this or that. I looked down and had absolutely nothing to say. We sat together in silence for some time. I felt heavy, even though my limbs and organs were weighted. I turned my head slowly towards Tao, looking at her surreptitiously. She seemed even sadder, and something different was missing. Suddenly, I knew it was her aura. Tao, what's happening to me? I can't see your aura anymore. It's normal, Michelle. The great theory gave you your two gifts, the ability to see auras and understand languages, to serve as tools in your learning, but only for a limited time. This time has just elapsed, and don't be saddened by the fact. After all, these are gifts you didn't have when you first joined us. What you do take back is knowledge that you and millions of your fellow beings can profit from. Isn't that more important than understanding languages or being able to see auras when you aren't able to read them? It is the reading of auras that counts after all, not the perceiving of them. I accepted her reasoning, but was disappointed nonetheless, for I had soon become accustomed to the radiance around these people. Don't be sorry, Michelle, said Tao, reading my thoughts. On your planet, most people don't have radiant auras. Far from it. The thoughts and concerns of millions of Earthlings are so closely related to material matters that their auras are quite dull. You'd have been disappointed. I looked at her closely, very conscious of the fact that soon I would see her no more. In spite of her large size, she was so well proportioned. Her pleasant, pretty face was without a wrinkle. Her mouth, her nose, her eyebrows, all were perfect. Suddenly, the question that had been brewing in my subconscious mind for so long sprung to mind almost involuntarily. Tao, is there a reason for you all being hermaphrodites? Yes, and it is important, Michelle, and I was surprised you didn't ask that question sooner. You see, as we exist on a superior planet, all we have that is material is also superior, as you have seen for yourself. Our various bodies, including the physical body, must also be superior. So in this domain, we have progressed as far as it is possible to progress. We can regenerate our bodies, prevent them from dying, resuscitate them, and even sometimes create them. But in a physical body, there are other bodies, such as the astral. Indeed, there are 9 altogether. Those which interest us at the moment are the fluidic body and the physiological body. The fluidic body influences the physiological body, which in turn influences the physical body. In the fluidic body, you possess 6 principal points, which we call corollas, and which the yogis on your planet call chakras. The first chakra is the one situated between your 2 eyes, just a centimeter and a half above your nose. It's the brain of your fluidic body, if you like. It corresponds to the pineal gland, which is placed much further back in your physical brain, but on exactly the same level. It was by placing a finger on this chakra that one of the theory was able to liberate you in the gift of understanding languages. And just a side note, in pranic healing, the Ajna chakra, which is the third eye chakra that uh, Tao talked about, between the chakra between your eyebrows, is known as the CEO of all your chakras. So if you can regulate that chakra well, that chakra automatically regulates the other chakras. So the other chakras kind of follows. So you could think of it as like your body as like a corporation or a company. The Ajna chakra is the CEO, and the CEO dictates policies, rules, and all that kind of stuff. And then the other departments or the other chakras kind of follow. So just a side note. Is there something else? Uh, okay. And an exercise that you can do, which is easy to do, but not that easy. Takes a lot of practice. If you want to find your pineal gland, uh, you can imagine a line crossing from the front of your head, where your Ajna chakra is, your third eye chakra, to the back of your head, and then another line from your on top of your left ear, crossing your head to the other side of your ear. So where that center is your pineal gland. Or actually, yeah, your pineal gland. It's a very simple exercise, but it takes many, many, many years to find it. You have to kind of work it a little bit, feel it. Yeah, it's not very easy. But anyways, that's one way to find your pineal gland. Okay. And the pineal gland is where your mental permanent seat is. Uh, one of the blueprints of your mental body, blueprints for your mental body. How smart you are, how, intelligent you are, things like that. That's one of your blueprints. Blueprints can be changed. Just a side note there. Okay. All right, moving on. Where am I here? I got distracted. Okay. Now, at the bottom of the fluidic body, and just above the sex organs, is found a very important chakra, which we call the Muladhara. Sorry, butchered that word, Muladhara, and which your yogis call sacred. Above this chakra and meeting the spinal column is the Palantius. It is in the form of a coiled spring and only reaches the base of the spinal column when it is relaxed. For it to become relaxed, it requires the accomplishment of the sexual act between 2 partners who must not only love one another, but also have a spiritual affinity between them. Only at that moment that under these conditions would the Palantius extend to the spinal column, transferring an energy and special gifts to the physiological body, which then affects the physical body. The person concerned will experience happiness in sexual enjoyment that is far greater than normal. I believe that's known as the Kundalini. And the fluid that is um, expelled is called the crystals. And from what I understand, it's a very thick fluid. Um, Anyways, okay, when on your planet you hear such expressions among people very much in love as we were in seventh heaven, we felt light, or we were floating on air, you can be sure the couples were in physical and spiritual accord and made for one another, at least for a while. Certain tantrists Certain tantrists on earth have attained this point, but it isn't common among them, for still their religion with ridiculous rituals and prohibitions create a real obstacle to attaining this goal. When they look at a forest, they don't see the trees. Let's go back to our loving couple. The man has experienced great pleasure transformed into beneficial vibrations for the Palantius, thanks to a love which is genuine and absolute compatibility. All of these sensations of happiness were released by the accomplishment of the sexual act. The sensations of happiness are not the same with the female, but the process is the same with her. Now, to answer your question, on our planet with bodies that are both male and female, we can achieve at will the sensations both male and female. Of course, this brings us a much greater range of sexual pleasure than if we were monosexual. Further, our fluidic body can be at its best. Our appearance is, needless to say, more feminine than masculine, at least where our faces and breasts are concerned. Don't you agree, Michelle, that as a general rule, a woman has a prettier face than a man? Well, we prefer to have faces that are pretty rather than unattractive. What do you think of homosexuality? The homosexual, female as well as male, is a neurotic when it is not a matter of hormones. And neurotics can't be condemned, but like all neurotics, they should seek treatment. In all things, Michelle, consider what nature has decreed, and you will have the answers to your questions. Nature gave every living thing the possibility of reproduction, so that various species might continue. According to the Creator's will, males and females have been created in all species. With human beings, however, and for the reasons we have already explained, he added features not given to other species. For example, a woman can bloom in sexual fulfillment, achieving a range of sexual sensations that can release the Palantius and bring about vast improvements in her physical body by way of the fluidic body. That can happen over numerous days of the month about her becoming pregnant. A cow, on the other hand, will accept the bull only during certain few hours of the month, and then it is motivated only by the drive to procreate. When in calf, she is no longer receptive to a bull's advances. There you have a comparison between two of nature's creations. The first is quite a special being possessing 9 bodies, whereas the second possesses only 3 bodies. Evidently, the Creator has taken special care to place within us much more than a physical body. Sometimes on your planet, these special things are referred to as divine sparks, and it is an appropriate comparison. What do you think of deliberate abortion? Is it a natural act? No, of course not. Then why do you ask? You already know the answer. I recall that Tao remained as though lost in thought for quite some time. Looking at me without speaking, then she resumed. For approximately 140 years on your planet, has been accelerating the destruction of nature and the pollution of the environment. This has happened since the discovery of steam power and combustion engine. You have but a few years left in which to arrest the pollution before the situation becomes irreversible. One of the principal pollutants on Earth is the petrol. driven engine, and this could be replaced immediately with a hydrogen engine that could cause no pollution, so to speak. On certain planets, this is called the clean motor. Prototypes of such an engine have been constructed by various engineers on your planet, but they must be industrially manufactured in order to replace petrol engines. Not only would this measure mean a 70% reduction in current levels of pollution by combustion waste, but it would also be more economical for consumers. The big petrol corporations have been terrified of the idea of this motor being popularized, for it would mean loss of sales for their oil and subsequent financial ruin. Governments, too, who impose enormous taxes on these oils, would suffer equally. You see, Michelle, it always comes back to money. Because of it, you have a whole economic and financial context that opposes progress towards radical change in the interest of all human life on Earth. The people on Earth allow themselves to be pushed around, bullied, exploited, and led to the abattoirs by political and financial cartels, which are sometimes even associated with well-known sects and religions. When these cartels fail to win the people with clever advertising campaigns intended to brainwash them, they try to succeed through political channels and next through religion or through a clever blend of the lot. Great men wanting to do something for mankind have simply been done away with. Martin Luther King is one example. Gandhi is another. But the people on earth can no longer allow themselves to be treated as fools and led to the abattoirs like flocks of sheep by leaders that they themselves have democratically elected. The people form the vast majority. In a nation of 100 million inhabitants, it is absurd that a group of financiers comprising perhaps 1,000 individuals can decide the fate of the others, like the butcher does at the abattoir. Such a group has well and truly stifled the business of the hydrogen motor so that it is no longer mentioned. These people couldn't care less what might happen to your planet in years to come. Selfishly, they seek their gains, expecting to be dead before whatever is going to happen happens. If the Earth disappears as a result of horrific cataclysm, they assume they will already be dead. Excuse me. Therefore, there they are making a big mistake, for the source of the coming disasters is the pollution, which is growing daily on your planet, and its consequences will be felt very soon, much sooner than you can imagine. The people of Earth must not do as the child forbidden to play with fire. The child is without experience, and in spite of the prohibition, he disobeys and burns himself. Once burnt, he knows that the adults were right. He won't play with fire again, but he will pay for his disobedience by suffering for several days afterwards. Unfortunately, in the case that concerns us, the consequences are much more serious than the burn of a child. It's the destruction of your entire planet that is at risk, with no second chance if you don't place your trust in those who want to help you. It interests us to see that recently established ecological movements are gaining in momentum and power, and that the young people of Earth are carrying other sensible people along with them in their fight against pollution. There is only one solution, as Archie told you, the grouping of individuals. A group is only as powerful as it is large. Those whom you call the conservationists are becoming stronger and stronger and will continue to do so. But it is vital that people forget their hatred, their resentment, and especially their political and racial differences. This group must be internationally united, and don't tell me that this is so difficult, for already on Earth there exists a nonviolent and very large international organization, the International Red Cross, which has been functioning effectively for quite some time. It is essential that this conservationist group include in its programs not only the conservation of the environment from direct damage, but from indirect damage as well, such as that which results from smoke, exhaust fumes from vehicles, smoke from factories, and so on. Just a side note, I want to make a comment about the Red Cross. So, on the internet, if you follow some of the quote truthers, they talk about how corrupted Red Cross is. I think you have to listen to both sides with a grain of salt. Um, and an organization like Red Cross, there is always the good side and the bad side, just like any organization. Um, yes, there might be some corruption, and yes, there might be a lot of good people who are doing good work around the world. So when you think of statements like that, for me, I find myself especially careful to uh, go to judgment right away that, oh, this is bad or this is good. Because there's always a gray area. So, anyways, that's where discernment comes in. That's where intuition comes in. That's where intuition is able to cut to the chase, cut to the truth, and to be able to distinguish between good and bad, or to look at things in a very analytical way, right? In any situation, there's always good and bad, and to be able to see it that way. So I just wanted to kind of make a comment about that. Okay, moving on. The wastewater from large towns and factories, which is chemically treated, is also harmful and empties into river systems and oceans. Smoke from the USA has already caused more than 40 lakes in Canada to become sterile by means of the acid rains it provoked. The same thing is occurring in Northern Europe due to pollution from French factories and German roar. Sorry, butchered that word. Now we come to another kind of pollution that is of no small concern, though people might readily dismiss it. As the great theorist told you, noise is one of the most noxious pollutants, for it upsets your electrons and unbalances your physical compartment. I haven't yet mentioned these electrons to you, and I see that you're not following me very well. A normal human astral body contains approximately 4 billion trillion electrons. These electrons have a lifespan of approximately 10 billion trillion of your years. I have no idea what that number is like. Billion trillion, oh my goodness. They were created at the moment of creation. I think that's even bigger than a trillion. Well, anyways, your astral body contains them. And when you die, 19% rejoin the electrons of the universe until required by nature to reform a new body or a new tree or animal. And the 81% rejoin your higher self. I don't quite follow you, I interrupted. I know, but I intend helping you to understand. An astral body is not quite what you would call a pure spirit. On earth, there is a belief that the spirit is made of nothing. This is false. The astral body is composed of billions of electrons, exactly marrying your physical shape. Each of these electrons has a memory, and each is capable of retaining as much information as is contained in all the books that fill the shelves of an average town library. I see you're staring wide-eyed at me, but it is as I say. This information is coded like a microfilm containing all the plans of an industrial installation that a spy would be able to pass in a cufflink, though much more miniaturized than that. Certain physicists on Earth are now aware of this fact, but the public at large hasn't been informed of it. Your astral body transmits and receives messages by means of these electrons through the channel of your brain to and from your higher self. Information is being transmitted without you being aware of it, thanks to a weak electric current from your brain in harmony with your electrons. Since it is the higher self which sent this astral body into your physical body, it is in the natural order of things that your higher self should receive information from your astral body. Like all things electronic, the astral body, tool of the higher self, is quite a delicate tool. During your waking hours, it is capable of sending messages of extreme urgency to the higher self, but the higher self seeks much more than that. So, during sleep, your astral body leaves your physical body to rejoin the higher self, either passing on required information or receiving information or orders. You have an old saying in French that the night brings counsel. This saying emerged from common experience. Over the course of years, people noticed that on waking in the mornings, they often had the solutions to their problems. Sometimes this is so, and sometimes it isn't. If the solution will be profitable to the higher self, you can be sure that it will be presented to you. If not, you will wait in vain. Now, those people who, through very advanced and special exercises, are able to detach their astral bodies from the physical bodies will be able to see a light silvery blue thread, such as you saw yourself, linking their physical and astral body. Side note, it's called the silver cord. Their astral bodies, likewise, are visible during the time that the separation lasts. It is these same electrons which form your astral body and which create the visible effect of the thread. I see that you follow what I'm saying and that you have sorry, grasp, grasp my point. Let me finish by explaining the dangers of noise. Noise directly attacks the electrons of your astral body, creating parasites. To use a radio and television term, if you're watching a television screen and notice several white spots, this is an indication that a small parasite is at work. Similarly, if someone is operating an electric tool next door to your house, such large parasites will be produced on your screen that the image will distort completely. The same thing occurs with the astral body, but unfortunately, you won't be aware of it in the same way that you are with the television screen. And it's much worse since noise damages your electrons. And yet people say, oh, we get used to it. Your brain tenses, so to speak, and your psyche initiates self-defense mechanisms, but not so the astral body. A parasite invades its electrons, which of course has disastrous repercussions for your higher self. Just a side note, in the same vein as the noise, I think the same goes the same is true for arguments, any kind of abusive situation. Those are the type of noises that would harm your bodies as well. And not just on the physical level, if there is physical abuse or things like that, but it goes also for emotional um damage, mental damage, astral damage. It kind of goes through all the bodies, which is very detrimental, I think. Um, yeah, same thing with trauma, any kind of argument, or not even argument, like the evil eye look. That has a lot of, that's not quite noise, but it does have an effect. Anyways, that's just a thought. The sounds that reach your ears are clearly very important. A particular piece of music can elevate you to a state of euphoria, while another piece, although very pretty, will have no effect on you, or perhaps irritate you. Try an experiment. Take a piece of soft violin, piano, or flute music that you like and play it as loudly as you can. The suffering of your eardrums will not be as great as the discomfort you feel within. Most of your fellow human beings on Earth consider noise pollution to be of negligible concern, but the noise of the exhaust pipe of a motorbike is 3 to 4 times worse than the noxious fumes that it discharges. While the fumes affect your throat and your lungs, the noise affects your astral body. However, no one has ever been able to take a photograph of your astral body, and so people don't concern themselves with it. Since your fellow earthlings like proof, let them consider this. There are people on earth who are sincere and who claim to have seen ghosts. I don't refer to charlatans. What they have seen is actually than 19% of electrons that don't comprise the astral body. These electrons detach themselves from the physical body 3 days after its death. Indeed, it is as a result of certain effects of static electricity. These electrons can be seen having the same form as the physical body. Sometimes, before being reutilized by nature, they are, quote, vacant, but they too have memories and return to, quote, haunt places they knew, places they loved or hated. Or hated? Yes, but you need to write not one, but two books if we were to concern ourselves with this subject. Can you see into my future? Surely you can, since you're able to do things which are much more difficult. You are correct. We have previewed your whole life, right up to the death of your present physical body. When will I die? You know very well that I won't tell you. So why do you ask? It is very bad to know the future, and those who have their fortunes told commit a double error. First, the fortune teller might be a charlatan. And second, it is contrary to nature to know what the future holds, for otherwise the knowledge would not be effaced in the river of oblivion. Many people believe in the influence of the stars and follow the signs of the zodiac. What do you think of that? To this, Tao didn't reply, but she smiled. The entire return journey was like the first trip had been. We made no stops, but I was able again to admire the suns, the comets, the planets, and the colors. When I asked Tao if I would be taken back by way of the parallel universe again, she replied in the affirmative. I wondered why, and she explained that it was the best way since it meant that they didn't have to contend with the reactions of witnesses. I was I was redeposited in my garden exactly 9 days after it, and once again in the middle of the night. End of chapter 13. Wow. Interesting, eh? What a journey. There's a lot of wisdom in it. This is a good book to kind of read it again in certain sections. The wisdom section, I think. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. We will continue next week with the postscript. And after that, we'll be starting a new book. So sign up for our newsletter, check it out, and follow us. And hopefully, we'll see you soon. Okay. Bye bye now.